exclusively made for knowledge regarding mooting. So a little bit about Anant now. So Anant has graduated from NLUO in 2016. And after which he went to work with Shardul Amarchandam Mangaldas at SAM for 2 years in the banking team. Following which he decided to start his own. So he also did a course on business from Harvard Business School as well while he was working as well. And so he decided to start his own thing. So that's how Memo Pundits came to be. And during his law school days, his team was the runners-up at the 𝘮𝘰𝘰𝘵𝘦𝘰𝘆 Herbert Smith Corporate Law Moot Court competition. So, hi, hello, welcome, Anant. We are very happy to have you here. Very, very honored. So today we'll basically be talking about 4 main things regarding mooting. The first would be the not so obvious advantages of mooting. Then how many moots should you technically be doing in law school? How to start mooting? How to begin it in the first place? And also what are the skills that you would be needing to be a very good mooter? So I give the floor to you. Please take the floor and start the conversation. And give us a lot of insight on this topic.
Thank you so much, Aashaarwari. Just one thing before we actually begin the webinar. I know that a lot of you will have a lot of questions regarding the topics which I will be touching upon. I would just request you to pause the questions till the end. I will personally make sure that I do not miss any question which anybody has. But most of the times what happens is that the kind of questions which you are asking, mostly they would be answered within 5-10 minutes of my speech. So I would just request you to hold on to the questions till the end. Okay, so let's start. First of all, thank you so much, Aashaarwari, and the entire team of LawSikho for inviting me for this webinar. I think that students really need to understand how mooting helps just beyond that dream of winning that trophy, right? Of course, all of us always think about that moment when the trophy will be in our hands and we would be living a moment which we've always wondered of. But it's much more than that. Like any other activity which actually helps you in skill development, like any other productive activity, mooting is personally, I think, is going to be one of the most important activities for any law student anywhere in the world. And in fact, mooting was introduced in India a little later than it was introduced in Europe and US. But in this short span of time, I am glad to say that Indian law schools and the law students have done a fantastic job. And today, if any kind of moot court competition is happening at a grand level, then other teams always fear if those Indian teams are going to come and face them. So let's begin. I would be covering 4 subtopics today. The first topic would be the not so obvious advantages of mooting. Okay, so guys, I did not moot in my first year, and the reason was very, very common. I'm sure that a lot of students have the same reason, is that sometimes we think that, okay, mooting is a bit biased. Sometimes we think that, okay, we actually don't know about mooting, that's why we don't want to moot. It's called the fear of the unknown. So, and one of the other reasons is that you simply don't feel like mooting because you know that there is no benefit coming out of it. And these were the kind of reasons which I was also giving to myself in my first year. But by the end of my law school, I realized that all of these things were being done by me just so that I could stay in denial. The real reason was that I feared the amount of effort which was which is put in any kind of moot court competition, be it the smallest moot court competition or the best of the best moot court competitions. And this fear of effort is something which a lot of us have for a lot of activities, right? So I'm here to talk specifically about mooting today, and that's why I wanted to share my own reason of not mooting in my first year. So what happened is that slowly, like gradually, what happened was that I realized that I was lacking in a lot of essential lawyering areas. And by essential lawyering areas, I meant I realized that my legal research skills weren't so developed. And of course, as a second year student, as a first year student, you don't expect to research fantastically, but even then you always compare yourselves with your peers. And around that time, I had this kind of inferiority complex that probably my research skills are not up to the mark, and my research skills weren't even my least polished areas. The most important skill which I was lacking was the skill of oral argumentation, of public speaking, because we have never, I had never participated in any kind of debate competition or any kind of public speaking competition in my school time. And probably that's why I had this innate fear to speak even in front of my classmates, a lot of them who were just my friends. um, so of course I realized that there is a problem. And whenever anybody is stuck at a point in their lives when they know what the problem is, you can either choose to fight it or you can just do nothing about it. Fortunately, in my second year, I thought, why don't I give mooting a try? Right. And when I did my first moot, it was it first I did my internal university moot court competition. Of course, I didn't win it. I didn't outshine, but I realized one thing, that just this one experience of a month or two, these 2 months have really polished my research and oratory skills. Like uh, I I could see myself as a better law student than I was 2 months before. So I gradually realized that mooting is a very, very unique co-curricular activity. So a lot of us do debates, right? Debates often engage the oratory part of your skill building. A lot of us also want to write research papers. I started writing research papers in my first year. But I realized that the only skill which research paper writing is focusing on is my research and probably my drafting skills. Mooting is a very unique activity because it encapsulates these three skills which are going to be the most important skills for any kind of lawyer. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of a law student. I'm saying this from the perspective of someone who's worked in the area of law, who's worked in a law firm, who has been around litigation, lawyers. I see on a day-to-day basis that there are only three skills which are required by any lawyer. Any lawyer firstly needs good research skills. If a client comes to you, you obviously need to know where to start your research and how to progress, right? So the first essential skill is going to be research. The second essential skill for any lawyer is drafting and formatting. Drafting and formatting is basically how you present your submissions or your arguments or your thoughts in written form. And that is going to be even more important for students who want to work in law firms in the corporate sector. Right, work if you want to work for, let's say, in corporate law or banking and finance. These areas of law do not really require oratory skills as much as they do drafting and research. right? So the second skill was, of course, drafting and formatting, and the third most important skill is oratory skills, which are your oral argumentation skills. And by that I simply mean the art of persuasion, the art of speaking to someone with the intention of convincing them about your argument, about your thoughts, right? So these three skills are never used in any other activity apart from mooting. In debates, in MUNs, in research papers, only a part of these skills are used, and that is why I consider mooting to be the best hybrid form of co-curricular activity, and which is sort of a blessing for any kind of law student. I can see that some students have started asking questions. I would just like to repeat that please save your questions till the end. I guarantee, I promise that I will answer to all your questions at the end. And after I finish all these 4 topics, it's just going to be your questions and my answers. Okay. Now one personal experience which I would like to share at this point is that in my first year, in my second year, with the lack of speaking at events, speaking in front of an audience, I developed the fear of public speaking so much that my hands used to shake, and like I used to shiver. My entire body used to shiver if I was speaking in front of 10, 20, 30 people. Or even if, sometimes even if the teacher used to ask me questions in the class, it used to be very difficult to articulate my thoughts into well-defined words, and this was only because of lack of practice in the area of public speaking. And by doing so many moots over the course of the remaining 4 years which I had in my law school, and of course conducting so many workshops on moot court competitions during my law school and post law school, I developed such kind of a confidence that even if today I am asked to speak in front of 400, 500 law students, my hands never shiver, I never shiver. And in fact, the opposite has started happening. I feel excited about talking to people because I can expect what is coming. And that is exactly what a student needs to learn, to expect what is going to come when they leave law school, right? When you guys leave law school, it's just going to be showing your research skills, your drafting skills, your oratory skills, be it in litigation, as a judge, as a transactional lawyer. So if you know about the skill, if you know how to develop it, then you will not fear it so much, right? So yeah, okay. So what some of the other not so obvious advantages would be, of course, CV strengthening is considered to be one of the prime areas to focus when you are when you want to participate in any kind of competition, or even participating in webinar these days holds some kind of value to your CV. But apart from just the certificate, I can confidently say that when you have a couple of moots in your CV, if you sit for interviews, then the interviewer automatically develops a certain kind of impression of you. What is that impression? That you know how to put in effort because you've done moots. You know how to work in teams because you've been in a moot team. And of course, you have the most important lawyering skills, right? So automatically, in the mind of the interviewer, some checklists you are already fulfilling, right? So it can somehow make your interview easier. Of course, there's no exact way to calculate how easier it's going to be. But what I'm just trying to tell you is that it can work in magical ways. So the only thing which you need to focus on is to keep doing things which actually matter. And one of them is moot court competition. Okay. So the next topic, the next subtopic is basically how many moots are enough. It's a very, very sought after question. A lot of students ask me a lot of times, sir, how many moots should I do? How, if I don't do any kind of moots, is it going to be bad? So let me first begin by saying that um, in life, whatever you do, wherever you go, balance is key, right? If today you think, as a law student, if you think that after graduating from my law school, I'm just going to work 24 hours, 7 days a week, then it's actually not correct, because you're missing the ingredient of balance. And similarly, when you are in a law school, when you're studying law, you also need to balance other activities vis-a-vis mooting, right? So your other important co-curricular activities could be debating or research paper writing, and your other important activities apart from co-curricular activities could be academics. And trust me, social life is also very, very important. So you always need to see, you always need to keep everything in balance. You can't compromise on, let's say, your social life for your entire for an entire year of mooting, research paper writing, and debating, right? Because what that would do is that would harbor a lot of um, tension and stress in you. So my suggestion would be to keep a balance and to see what works best for you. And that being said, if I were to give you a rough idea of what a balanced life for an average law student can look like, would be I definitely think you should start mooting in your first year. That is, I regret the fact that I did not start mooting in my first year, and I do not want you guys to face the same regret. So if you are in your first year, please make up your minds to choose a moot and start doing it as soon as possible. I will tell you in my next subtopic as to how you can begin mooting. But yeah, let's settle this for once and for all, that in your first year, if you have the opportunity, you should definitely go for a moot. It can even be your internal moot court competition, internal university moot court competition. So, okay. I personally also think that given that you have 5 years of law school and a lot of internships to do, and you have to keep a good CGPA, I think in one academic year, doing one moot is absolutely fine. So let's say roughly if you do about 4 to 5 moots in total in your entire law school journey, I think that's a wonderful thing, and you have achieved a lot. That would also be very beneficial in some way which you haven't thought yet. I'll tell you what that way is. Let's suppose, so whenever you guys actually would want to do anything in your life, you always need to understand how to hedge risks. What do I mean when I say hedging risks? It's basically that if you do 5 moots, if out of those 5 moots you don't do well in, let's say, 3 moots, then at least you are hedging this risk by doing well in the other 2 moots. But if you only do 2 to 3 moots, the risk of not doing well is very high. You don't want to harbor that kind of a risk, right? So if you do at least 5 moots, then you can definitely say that you can choose to write 2 good achievements in your moots in your CV or in your application, right? So my intention of telling you this is to, of course, minimize your risks. And for that, you can try doing as many moots as possible. There's also another advantage, actually. The more moots you do, the better you become. And that is something which nobody can challenge. This statement is absolutely true, because when I mooted for the first time, I realized some of my mistakes, that, okay, I could have been better here. I could have drafted my memorial like this and all. when I did my second moot, it wasn't like it was perfect. I did win the best speaker and the best team, but I still had certain points which I knew I could work upon. And that is how you develop yourself. That is how you grow your skills to become better and better, right? So of course, the more moots you do, the better you will become, right? Okay. Yeah. So the next subtopic is, and this is, I think, the second most asked question to me, is how to begin mooting. So first of all, everybody needs to realize everyone starts from zero. There was a time when I knew nothing about mooting. There was a time when the best of the best mooters knew nothing about mooting. It's never too late, and everybody starts from zero. But the best way to start your journey is to first learn the basics about it, right? First, you need to know what mooting is. You need to know what memorial making is. You need to know how to argue in front of the moot court judges. And for that, you can either learn these skills, let's say from your seniors, or a more systematic way could be, let's say, through our online courses. Memo Pundits, which is my startup, Memo Pundits specifically deals in online courses on moot court competitions. So if you know about the course, if you know about the course of action in future, which is basically, if today you learn how to draft, like what are the rules of drafting arguments, or let's say what are the ways to feel more confident in front of an intimidating judge. If you know about these things beforehand, it's definitely going to make your journey easier, and it will increase your chances of winning the actual moot court competition. Right. So first way is definitely, I recommend to learn about these things before you actually start doing it. Because I'll tell you one personal experience why we came up with Memo Pundits, in fact, was because in my second year, when I wanted to moot, I went to one of my seniors and I asked him, how do I start mooting? Like, what do I do? What is step one? And his response was, go read the moot problem. And I of course realize that his intentions were absolutely natural and fine, but there is a very big problem in this statement, which is I simply do not know how to read the moot problem. There is a document which I have in front of me. It's called the moot problem, but apart from that, I know no techniques, no steps, no ways to actually decipher or decode the moot problem. And trust me, these were some of the things because of which we actually started Memo Pundits. We were fed up with there being absolutely no platform which teaches about mooting, and it's such an important area of for law students. We were actually surprised for quite some time as to why there are no platforms like that, and that's how we thought of building a platform like that. And slowly and steadily we developed these online courses to help students who don't even know the meaning of the word moot. That's actually the first line of every course which we do, which is what is the meaning of the word moot. That's how we start, right? So and we start from zero, and I would also see a lot of you guys to start from zero, because if you don't know about mooting, it's absolutely fine to first accept the fact that you are not in possession of the required knowledge. Once you've done that, then of course go for a course, or go for some kind of a way to get knowledge about mooting. That being said, of course, a lot of us here who would be listening to this webinar right now, a lot of you would say that I know how to moot. I know how to present good arguments in written and in verbal form. Now, how do I improve my mooting skills, right? So for that also, our platform, which is Memo Pundits, we provide moot mentorship through experts who are studying or have studied in Harvard, Columbia, Oxford, Cambridge, and you name it. So basically, they give you mentorship lessons and they specifically guide you from A to Z of your entire moot journey. So if you pick up a moot, let's say you pick up to do a national moot court competition, they will help you out from the beginning till the end. So these were some of the things which we thought could be helpful in in encouraging students to begin mooting. And this I feel is the right course of action for any kind of law student. Now, another question which I faced in my law school was, I was perplexed about how I should go about choosing what moots to do. In fact, these days, a lot of you might think that moots aren't happening because 𝘮𝘴, which is the World Cup of mooting, 𝘮𝘴 cancelled their 2019 to 2020 sessions, their moot court edition of this year. But what you don't realize is the rise of let's say tier 3 moot court competitions. By that I mean moot court competitions which are happening for the first time because of the entire situation we are presently facing. There's a lack of personal interaction, and that's why what has developed during this time is the virtual presence of moot court competitions. So today, if you were to go to our website or to any kind of notification platform, and you were to see the kinds of moots which are coming, every week there's an announcement of a very new moot which has a very good cash reward, which has a very good panel of judges, and the moot problem seems doable. Right, so that should be your goal, to choose a moot. If you are beginning, your goal should be to choose a moot which is doable and which is, let's say, 15 to 20% above your current level of difficulty, current level of skill difficulty. So if you know about 100 things today, choose a moot which asks you about 120 things. So if I were to give you a very simple analogy, when we were in school, when we used to tackle maths problems, did we start with the most difficult problem? No. We obviously first read about the concepts, read what the theorem said, and then we started by doing the easiest questions. So my suggestion to you in terms of how to begin mooting is exactly like that. First, learn how to do mooting, learn the aspects of mooting, and then choose an easy moot and then go forward. Of course, don't become comfortable in easy moots. Don't keep doing easy moots for your entire 5 years. I would recommend to choose a higher difficulty level moot as you proceed. Okay, so just a second. Yeah, my last subtopic, and after this subtopic, I'm going to take all your questions. My last subtopic is, what are the skills required to become an ace mooter? And I can give you a very, very close example of a mooter who I've known for years, who was basically one of the star mooters of a college, and was a part of the team which actually did great in 𝘮𝘴 international rounds. I think they were the finalist team in the world round, which is a huge deal. So I can tell you from his experience the kinds of skills which I could sort of see in him, which I thought were distinct from other mooters. One was determination. If you don't determine to win the moot, you don't win the moot. As there's a very, very famous saying: those who think they can, and those who think cannot. Right? So if you want to win, first you have to think that you can, and then you have to be determined about it. So that's going to be the most distinctive skill to become an ace mooter. You have to be very, very, you have to be in a mindset where you can say that, okay, my next few months are only going to be about mooting. I know um, that sort of is against the principle of balance, which I told all of you in the first subtopic, but you sometimes can be a little flexible to reach the goal which you want to, which you have in mind. So don't don't be so rigid in your approach that there is absolutely no way to reach your goal. And if your goal is to win a very, very big moot, then you have to be flexible. Then you have to compromise a bit, maybe on your academics, maybe on your research papers. But at the end of the day, if you are, let's say, a 1 point or 2 point uh, lower than a peer who is performing well academically, and if you have a citation, let's say, if you win a very good international moot court competition, then the interviewer, then the employer, who has both your CVs, would know the difference and would understand why this has happened, and probably would give you more preference, right? So that's one skill which distinguishes an ace mooter from a regular mooter. The second skill is thinking on your feet. In Hindi, we call it hazir jawabi, right? So if you know even a little bit about mooting, I think students, the first impression which students have is uh, it's a competition where you get asked questions and you have to answer to them, and that's the most difficult part. And I agree with you, that is the most difficult part. But you slowly get good at it. It's not like uh, when you participate in your fifth moot court competition, if somebody is asking you a question, if a judge is asking you a question, you would be left blank. That hardly happens. In fact, you start preempting the questions which are going to be asked. And this is a very, very important and interesting strategy, which we also applied in the last 2 to 3 moots which we did in my law school. We started preempting the kinds of questions which the judges can ask. For that, you need to have an intuitive mind. You need to look at the moot problem and the memorials from the perspective of a judge and think about the questions which they can have in their mind. And based on that, what you can simply do is you can maybe make a document of those questions and be ready, so that whenever you get asked those questions, you can answer them swiftly, and you therefore would satisfy the thinking on your feet skill, right? So these two skills, I think, are the most important skills. Apart from these two skills, of course, research, drafting, and your oratory skills are definitely going to come into picture. If you have better research skills, your chances of winning a moot court competitions, of course, increase. So basically, that puts an end to the 4 subtopics which I had. Now what I will do is I will one by one take your questions and I'll start answering them. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So the first question is, I am giving CLAT this year. Will this webinar be helpful? Of course, it's never too late or too early to start in respect of mooting, I would say. Of course, if you are in your 9th standard or 10th standard, or even in your 11th standard, it's a bit premature to know about mooting in deep. But if you have an idea before you join law school what mooting is, it's always going to be beneficial. Why? Because when I started my law school, I had no idea about what moot court competitions are. A lot of my peers also did not have any idea. But some students who were not freshers, who actually had spent 1 year in another law school, knew about mooting, and they started mooting from first year itself, and it helped them a lot in terms of getting good achievements in moot court competition and ultimately sharpening those lawyering skills. So if you are giving CLAT this year, it's definitely going to be helpful to know what kind of activities mooting would entail. Okay, so somebody has also asked, what is mooting? Okay, so mooting is basically a co-curricular activity which resembles a mock court, where there are two parties. The two parties argue in front of a judge, and the judge gives the two parties marks on the basis of a written document which these two parties submit, which is called a memorial, and on the basis of the oral arguments which they have presented in a moot court round. Somebody has also asked the name of my startup. It's Memo Pundits. I am leaving a link of my website here. You can check it out. You can also see the kind of courses which we have. As I told you, what we believe in is basically clarifying every single doubt of any law student regarding mooting. So when you actually see the preview of our courses, you will sort of realize what kind of what kind of information we are trying to propagate to the public. Okay, Vipasha, what is the role of experience in international moots? For example, Manfred Lax has a 7-page problem compared to national moots with 39 pages. However, it's still an international with higher stakes. So how much does experience matter? Of course, everybody knows that Manfred Lax is a tier 2 moot, if not a tier 1 moot. But it's if I haven't gone through the moot problem of this year or last year, but if you're saying that the moot problem was shorter than a lot of moot problems of national moot court competitions, I would personally say that the length of moot proposition cannot be the most important factor of choosing of determining if the moot is a good moot or not, because I've personally seen moots which have a 3 to 4 page problem, but the moot difficulty level is so high, the kind of judges which they are empaneling is so good, which can totally defy this concept of the length of the moot proposition determining the goodness of the moot. So in terms of, I think what you're also asking is, what is the role of experience in international moots? I would personally say, Vipasha, don't go for an international moot if it's your first year and your first moot. Of course, when I say that, I do want to caveat myself by saying that it's not impossible to do well in a moot if you are in your first year and if you go for an international moot. But I just want to hedge your risks. I just want to distribute your risks as much as possible. You would have a very good experience. You would have a very enriching experience if you choose an international moot early on. But if I were in your place, I would first do, let's say for the first 2 years, I would do one moot each, one national moot each year, and then move on to an international moot like Manfred Lax or maybe Frankfurt. Frankfurt is a very good step moot. Like it's a good way to step into the international law arena, international mooting arena, right? So you can choose either of these two moots, or there are other moots like LawAsia International and FDI. So these kinds of moots can be your go-to moots if you want to begin your international moot journey. If we have less exposure to international moot court competitions and more to a national moot court competition, will this still be an advantage for getting a job? In fact, Anirudh, I have never participated in any kind of international moot court competition, but because of the fact that I did well in in 2 national moot court competitions, I think that got highlighted in my CV and was one of the questions which was asked to me by my interviewer at Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. So I don't think the distinction of international versus national is so much important as is the I'm sorry to say this, but as is the achievement part of it. I think if you achieve more in a national moot court competition versus if you achieve less in an international moot court competition, the former is going to look better in your CV and in your application. So probably go for that instead of just chasing the international moot court dream. which skills are required for participating in moot court competitions. So to participate, you need to do two things. One is you need to make a memorial. The other thing is you need to present your oral arguments on the day of the oral round. So the two important skills would be research and drafting when you, for your memorial, and the skill set would be your oratory skills, right? So these are the two skills. Now let's go to the Q&A section. Okay, what is mooting and how it will help to us? I think I've answered this question. If you still think that there is some part of this question which you need specific help with, if you could if you could rephrase that question in your mind in the chat box, I would be happy to answer to you. Okay. How can mooting help judiciary aspirants? In fact, we just did an interview with one of my classmates, Arpit, who is now a civil judge in Madhya Pradesh District Court. He was telling, and this was for the purpose of one of our online courses on oral argumentation. The exact topic of discussion was how does mooting help judges? So what he told us was that judges have a day-to-day interaction with lawyers, with parties who come to the court, and of course you also have a certain kind of aura and which you need to maintain if you are a judge. So what his take was that oral advocacy and like oral argumentation is one of the most important activities, like one of the most important skills which a judge can require, because if you aren't influential in your oral advocacy, if you aren't commanding enough, then your subordinates, who are the lawyers or the parties involved, wouldn't be so influenced by your presence. So, and that is a very big deal for judges. You need to maintain a stature which is respectful, right? And of course, it obviously translates into showing that the judge is a qualified judge, right? All of that being said, when you want to become a judge, there is absolutely no part of the application process which would demand you to do moot court competitions. But these are some of the I would say not so explicit ways in which mooting can help you as a judge. Okay, so the questions are actually 34. Okay, all right. Have you done Jessup moot? No, Labdi. In fact, it was my dream to do Jessup. We did help two moot teams to do fantastically well in the international rounds of Jessup moot court competition. But unfortunately, my dream of doing Jessup was never fulfilled, mostly because in my fourth year, I got very busy with my internship at Amarchand Mangaldas. I did an internship for 3 to 4 months. And precisely because of that, I did not have enough time to focus on other research papers or moot court competitions. But yes, if I could go back into time, I would definitely do a Jessup moot in which I do well. Sir, I am a third year law student. I will do my first moot soon. I could participate. I couldn't participate before due to unforeseeable circumstances. Could you please give some tips to students like me? Okay, so Neha, my first go-to tip would be to check out our online courses on mooting, because our online courses are meant for people like you. Some people who basically are encouraged enough to moot, but don't know the exact direction which will get them to the final destination. So my first suggestion would of course be to go and have a look at our Memo Pundits online courses. My other suggestion would be, if you are in your third year, then of course your legal research skills would be polished to a certain level. I would say, polished more than a first year law student. So you're good to go with that. Uh, in terms of your drafting skills, if at all you've written any kind of research papers, or if you've done good projects in your law school, then that can help you in your moot court competitions. If you've done any kind of debates or anything, then your oral advocacy skill can also be taken care of. So what you can simply do is, Neha, you can simply pick up an upcoming online, like a virtual moot court competition, in which you can take the help of someone who has experience of mooting. That helps a lot. If you have someone who's mooted in your moot team, then you get insights which are very helpful for that particular moot, because that person knows the kind of mistakes which he or she has done in the last moot, right? So look for someone who's done a moot and form a team with him or her. If you aren't very confident about your oral advocacy skills, then I would recommend you to become a researcher for the first moot which you do, and gradually take on the role of a speaker in your next moot. Okay, Sarah is asking, I'm in second year right now and have participated in just one internal moot. That's absolutely fine. How do I go about mooting during a lockdown, and how do I go about forming a team? Okay, so Sarah, your first part of the question, lockdown doesn't hasn't lowered the number of moot court competitions. So just go, maybe just log into just browse through our website's notifications section, where you can find the upcoming moot court competitions. In fact, there are a ton of moot court competitions we are sponsoring, which are going to happen in the next few months. So you can choose those moot court competitions, and when you need to form a team, what you can also think of is the subject area which you want to which you want to work upon. Let's say if you have a decent hold on constitutional law, then choose a moot which is based on constitutional law, and choose a moot team which has certain experience in dealing with that particular subject, right? So now let's say if you want to form a team with the first year student, then probably the kind of moots which you are looking at are moots in the subject area of contract law, or maybe torts, although there aren't that many moots on tort. But I'm just trying to tell you how to go about choosing, right? If you want to participate in, let's say, a moot court competition dealing in company law, then choose a moot partner who has experience of company law. That will help you in understanding how to go about that subject. Okay, Kalyani, hello Nansar. I'm in the third year and I came to know the importance of mooting very late. I have done moots only within my college. Please guide me. How can I make up this void? So first of all, Kalyani, the fact that you're in your third year and you haven't mooted is absolutely fine. I wouldn't say it's ideal, but now there is nothing you can do about it. And I was in a similar position when I completed my first year. I couldn't go back into my first year and start mooting. So first of all, stop regretting this fact. Now see what you can do from this point, right? Don't worry so much about what has happened. Now you just need to think how you can plan your future. And as I told in the last few answers, that you should probably choose an easy moot, an easy upcoming virtual moot. A virtual moot is actually easier to do because you're doing it from the comfort of your home. So Kalyani, my honest suggestion to you would be, choose a very easy new moot that will ease you into mooting and that will boost your morale, and choose a moot team which maybe has some experience in mooting. That can also help you. Sir, can you give examples of tier 1, tier 2 moots? Yes, in fact, I can give you, I can send you the tiers of moot. Okay. So basically, Parvez, the tiers of moot court competitions is a fictitious, table sort of a thing. which was initially created by Legally India for its Mooting Premier League, which is going to probably restart this year, this session with Memo Pundits. Basically, they have categorized all the moot court competitions which happen around the world and in India into 4 to 5 tiers. We at Memo Pundits have made this a bit easier. We have made 3 tiers of moot in the link which are sent you. You can see tiers of moot as a button below. What you can simply do is you can go to those tiers and find out that what moot is in tier 1, what moot is in tier 2, what moot is in tier 3. That will give you an idea of the level of difficulty you want to eye, right? Because if you want to start with a moot court competition like, let's say, Frankfurt or Manfred Lax, you instantly can see that, okay, this moot court competition is in tier 1, and that means it would be difficult. That means you need to ask yourself, am I ready for such a difficult moot, or do I need to do an easy moot this year and maybe a difficult moot next year? Can you please explain in short what we are supposed to do when we participate in moots? Okay, no worries. Basically, in short, all that you have to do is, first the moot problem comes. The moot problem is a document which, let's say, says X murdered Y. Y was doing this just before the crime scene. Z saw X. Now on the basis of a lot of other facts they will give, now they ask you to prepare memorials from both sides. When I say both sides, I mean the 2 opposing sides which are going to be arguing opposite to each other on a particular issue. Let's say the issue is, has X committed murder? Then one party could say no, X has not committed murder. The other party could say X has committed murder, right? So they first have to prepare a memorial. A memorial would be the arguments which include facts and laws to prove the particular issue at hand. So let's say X says that on the basis of section so and so of the so and so act, and on the basis of the fact that X was present here, the murder weapon was retrieved. All of this would be given in the moot problem, of course, the facts. And based on the facts and the law, I can say that the issue is in my favor and therefore X has committed murder. So this is something which is the first step of a moot court competition. Once you are done with the memorial drafting part, then you go on to the oral argumentation part, where basically there are oral rounds and you have judges in front of you who ask you questions about your arguments which are written in your memorial, right? So even there would be a sort of a similar situation which is there in courts. Two opposing parties would be present. One party would come and tell their arguments. The judges would ask questions based on those arguments, and then the other party would come, and vice versa, right? So this was in short how moot court competitions are conducted. Okay, so I can see another question by Vipasha in the chat box. How much do moots matter in job prospects? Quantity or quality? Of course, quality. This goes, this is irrespective of the area of mooting, the area of law, the area of education. In anything, quality will always come over quantity, unless you want to be a part of the mass market, right? So if you obviously have just one good international moot court competition in which you have done brilliant, that would weigh against 3 to 4 national moot court competitions where you have done average. So always focus on quality versus quantity. Vinay is asking in the Q&A box, sir, how to prepare an effective memorial? Okay, so this is a topic which we've been dealing with this topic since 2014, since we started Memo Pundits. Some of the key pointers which we teach in our online course is basically, you need to know what are the techniques of drafting, what are the rules of drafting. There's a particular rule which you have to follow when you draft any legal argument. be it in a moot, be it in a research paper, be it in an exam answer. So first you need to understand the rule of drafting. Once you've understood how to start drafting, then you go on to the phase of researching. How do you start your research? Of course, this is also a very big topic which is dealt in the online course. Basically, the basic funda is that you need to understand the difference between a primary source and a secondary source, and then you need to understand how to begin research from a secondary source and come to a primary source, so that you have enough cases and enough other authorities to cite in your memorial. The last aspect of memorial making is your formatting, which is a very neglected yet one of the most important aspects of memorial making. If your memorial is horribly formatted, I can practically guarantee that you will never win a best memorial award. So take it as a take it for granted that to win a best memorial or to do well in moots, it is absolutely required that you have the necessary formatting skills. By formatting, I simply mean you need to professionally know how to work on Microsoft Word, which is going to be very useful for any lawyer. In fact, a friend of mine recently, he's a lawyer at a very good law firm in Delhi. He's the same batch in which I was. He was asking how to format a particular document. So I just realized how important this skill is even for practicing lawyers. And that is something, if you realize it right now as law students, you are going to do so much better than your friends or than your peers who don't realize this fact right now. Okay, Harshita has asked, could you please explain how many types of mooting? Okay, how many types of moots? Which one is easier moots? Okay, so the types of moots are basically three. It depends on the kind of categorization which you're doing. One category could be international national moots. Basically, national moots are the ones which you do in India. International moots are the ones which happen outside India. Another category could be, let's say, the kinds of moots, the kinds of subject area which you want to focus on. There are different moots for constitutional law, international law, corporate law, and so on and so forth. Another categorization, which is probably the most important categorization, could be a regular moot, an arbitration, and a trial advocacy. A regular moot is very different from a trial advocacy, especially if not different from a arbitration moot. I'll tell you in brief what these three kinds of moots are. A regular moot is basically where memorial submission is there, and of course the nature of the oral round proceeding somehow matches the oral proceedings of a regular court. Arbitration, on the other hand, is conducted in the manner in which actual arbitrations are conducted. For it, one of the most striking features could be that you don't stand while presenting your oral arguments in an arbitration. The other could be the kind of addresses which you do to the arbitrator or basically the judge. You don't say your honor or my lord, or you simply say Mr. Arbitrator or Miss Arbitrator, or just call them by their name. So arbitrations are a bit more informal than regular moots. And trial advocacy, at the end, they represent a true criminal trial. So in a criminal trial, there are several stages of an oral round. In fact, there may be trial advocacies where there are absolutely no memorial submissions, right? So in those moot court competitions, all you have to do is focus on aspects such as cross-examination, chief examination, opening statement, closing statements. So the trial advocacy part is a bit different. Of course, this is one of the areas which we touch base in our online courses. If you want to know more about it, please log on to our website and have a look at the courses to see to know more about these kinds of moots. What is virtual mooting? Okay, virtual mooting is nothing but a substitute of offline mooting, because offline moots are not happening these days. That's why we have to make do with virtual moots. That's why we have to sort of arrange a competition on virtual platforms. Apart from that, there is no difference in virtual mooting and real mooting. Okay, so there's one more question. Sir, how to balance moot preparation and college academics? Sir, I request you to share your campus experience. Please answer this. It's a tough time for me and my friends to manage those two simultaneously. Okay, Balaji, I think you have a very, very reasonable question. Even when I was doing my, I think my third moot, which was endless IAM, endless arbitration in my third year, I faced the exact same problem. I was doing well in academics otherwise, but during the preparation time, there was a certain dip which happened in my academics. And honestly, it's very difficult to find the perfect answer or formula to how you can balance both mooting and academics. But ultimately, what you have to do is you need to sort of dedicate your time away from other unproductive things. Unproductive things at that particular point could be a lot of social interaction, a lot of chilling time basically, which you have. You'll have to cut on that to give more time on academics and more time on mooting. Of course, you would have your regular burnouts after 1 week or 2 weeks of extreme preparation in your moots and extreme dedication for your academics. You would be like, I have had enough of it. Take regular breaks. That's another very key aspect of how to balance anything. Take regular breaks when your body feels that you're burned out. Okay, which skills are required for mooting? Harshita, the three most important skills which are required for mooting are your research skills, which basically test you on the fact that you can research a particular legal proposition and come up with, let's say, case laws or statutes or any kind of authorities, landmark cases on that particular legal proposition or not. The second important skill is your drafting skills, which include your formatting skills. Drafting skills basically are how well can you translate your thoughts into words. And then the third is, of course, your oral argumentation skills, which basically tell how good of a verbal command do you have over your arguments. Okay, so just for reference, I'm sending the link of the website where all the online courses which I was talking about throughout the webinar. The website link is posted in the chat box. If any one of you want to check it out, it's www.memopundits.com. I think most of you have asked the questions, and let me just check if there are any pending questions. Yes. Thank you so much, Harshita. Aashaarwari, I think we've more or less answered all the questions, and now I think we can, put an end to this webinar.
Okay. So thank you so much, Anant, for coming and, helping us out in understanding how to moot and all of that. I personally haven't done mooting in college, so it was also an eye-opener for me to know more about it as well. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. And I know everybody wants to have dinner now, so I'm quickly going to say bye. So thank you so much, Anant, and I am ending the webinar at the moment. It was a very it was our honor to have you actually.
Same here, Aashaarwari. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night.
Yeah. Have a